Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Maverick News Channel. It's all about Iran, the war, but it's about more than Iran. This war, whatever this is, it's different. I said this last night that this feels different, certainly different than the shock and awe we saw years ago in Iraq. Can't quite put my finger on what's different about it other than to say it's different. It doesn't have that shock and awe. It doesn't have the maybe it's because of the way it's being covered. Maybe it's because we have certainly more social media. Maybe it's because the messaging that is flowing from the fog of war is coming from social media as well as mainstream media. This time, maybe it's different just for me personally because I'm not watching this play out on CNN. Pretty much exclusively now it's coming from all kinds of sources around the world. But the war itself, this is a different war, a different kind of conflict, and it's spilling out beyond Iran's borders. Multiple countries attacked. We're seeing impacts even over in Europe already, where Zelensky is saying Ukraine is prepared to help Europe defend its skies. Starmer saying the UK will let the United States use its bases. We see Russia not responding, not helping Iran. They basically just didn't show up to back up the Iranian regime, which they are allied with. So it is a tangled web, an evolving geopolitical situation, and we'll start digging into it. We'll talk about the B-2 bombers and their role in this and how that is just beginning to play out or started to play out overnight. We'll expand on the impacts of this situation with Iran on Europe, on the United States, where we're seeing maybe some terrorist activity already on the home front, and also the impact on Canada. So stay with me. I will bring it all to you on the other side of this.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are Maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, defending free speech, Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Just to back up what I was saying about this not feeling the same, I'll just, before we even get into the nitty gritty on the situation in Iran, the war anyway, let me just show you this. I just noticed this as I was queuing up some more stuff tonight. Look at this post here, Elon Musk Highest usage of X ever. Right here. So he's reposting this from some user named Nikita Bayer. I don't know who that is. Looks like has quite a following. Anyway, this was the biggest at X in history. 117.7 million views. Here it says. I don't know what exactly the deal is with that, but you can understand why. Because of the war in Iran. This is, I think, the go-to news platform for a lot of people now. Even though I would say there's a lot of crap on here, it has become something of a cesspool. Woven into all of that, you have actual news too. So it's user beware, and you better be media savvy as you are, and media literate when you're navigating your way through X these days. I mean, here's footage here. Footage captured by a U.S. service member shows what appears to be an Iranian Shahed 136 drone hitting the U.S. Army's Camp Buring in central Kuwait. How many more U.S. service members' lives will be lost with this war in Iran? 3 American lives have already been lost. Yes, tragically, that is true. The president acknowledging that, CENTCOM reporting 3 American service members killed in this conflict because of retaliatory Iranian strikes. And here's the footage. And I just
Oh, shit. Oh, my God. Oh, that was right here. They're starting to dial into our building. Yeah. I fucking got the whole. Yeah, right here. Splash.
Oh my. So yeah, this is not over yet, and not by a long shot. The president tonight saying this conflict could go on for weeks. And I fear, and I mentioned this last night, I mean, my concern, just me, my own assessment, I'm concerned that this is going to escalate, and maybe not the right word, but it's going to persist is maybe the better word, over a longer period of time, and in the form of terrorist attacks. Tonight we're seeing exactly, well, I think maybe exactly that. In Austin, Texas, we had a Texas bar shooting that left 2 dead, 14 injured. Some speculation that this might be related in some way to the attacks on Iran by Israel and the United States and the retaliatory strikes, the conflict there. But the person involved also, we're told, has had a history of mental illness. We're going to come back to that in a little while. We've got clips from the news conference held just a little earlier today, updating us on what the situation is with that. But we also have at least 9 people hospitalized after a shooting in Cincinnati, Ohio, at a nightclub and concert venue earlier this morning. Shooting happened around 1 a.m. at Riverfront Live on the city's East End. Cincinnati's mayor says overnight in the East End, our community was victim to a senseless mass shooting. Thank you to the officers on site, the first responders for their immediate action, and all the hospital staff who worked to save lives this morning. This is unconscionable. The mayor goes on and says, our prayers are with all the victims, and law enforcement has our full support to deliver justice. We will continue to keep the public up to date. Now, I'm not sure of all the circumstances surrounding that particular shooting. I just highlight that as another shooting overnight, this one in Cincinnati. And there was a strange situation in the Toronto area with North York Regional Police reporting a gym operated by an Iranian Canadian activist was shot up just hours after it was reported that the Ayatollah in Iran had been killed in the Israeli and U.S. attacks. We have video of that coming up as well. So we'll come back to that too. But before we get into any of that, let's go over to Truth Social, where President Trump has posted his latest statement on the quickly developing situation in Iran. Let me just get this to full screen, bring it up on here, and here we go. President Trump.
Over the past 36 hours, the United States and its partners have launched Operation Epic Fury, one of the largest, most complex, most overwhelming military offensives the world has ever seen. Nobody's seen anything like it. We have hit hundreds of targets in Iran, including Revolutionary Guard facilities, Iranian air defense systems. Just now it was announced that we knocked out 9 ships plus their naval building, all in a matter of literally minutes. Iran's formerly supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, is dead. This wretched and vile man had the blood of hundreds and even thousands of Americans on his hands and was responsible for the slaughter of countless thousands of innocent people all across many countries. Last night, all over Iran, the voices of the Iranian people could be heard cheering and celebrating in the streets when his death was announced. The entire military command is gone as well, and many of them want to surrender into saving their lives. They want immunity. They're calling by the thousands. Combat operations continue at this time in full force, and they will continue until all of our objectives are achieved. We have very strong objectives. They could have done something 2 weeks ago, but they just couldn't get there. Earlier today, CENTCOM shared the news that 3 U.S. military service members have been killed in action. As one nation, we grieve for the true American patriots who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our nation, even as we continue the righteous mission for which they gave their lives. We pray for the full recovery of the wounded and send our immense love and eternal gratitude to the families of the fallen. And sadly, there will likely be more. Before it ends, that's the way it is. Likely be more, but we'll do everything possible where that won't be the case. But America will avenge their deaths and deliver the most punishing blow to the terrorists who have waged war against basically civilization. They have waged war against civilization itself. Our resolve, and likewise that of Israel, has never been stronger. America is now, again, the richest, most powerful nation in the world by far. But the only reason we enjoy the quality of life that we do and the freedom and security is we have done things that others are unable to do. But it's because of warriors who are willing to lay down their lives to do battle with our enemies. And they do battle better than anybody. An Iranian regime armed with long-range missiles and nuclear weapons would be a dire threat to every American. We cannot allow a nation that raises terrorist armies to possess such weapons that would allow them to extort the world to their evil will. Not going to let it happen. We're not happening to us, and we're not going to let it happen to others. The United States has the strongest military the world has ever seen. I rebuilt our military in my first term. There's never been a military like we possess. And frankly, there's nobody even close, but we are now using that military for good. We want to have it for good purpose. We're undertaking this massive operation not merely to ensure security for our own time and place, but for our children and their children, just as our ancestors have done for us many, many years ago. This is the duty and the burden of a free people. These actions are right and they are necessary to ensure that Americans will never have to face a radical, bloodthirsty terrorist regime armed with nuclear weapons and lots of threats. For almost 50 years, these wicked extremists have been attacking the United States while chanting the slogan, "Death to America" or "Death to Israel," or both. They are the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. We are the world's greatest and most powerful nation, so we can do something about what they do. These intolerable threats will not continue any longer. I once again urge the Revolutionary Guard, the Iranian military, police, to lay down your arms and receive full immunity or face certain death. It will be certain death. Won't be pretty. I call upon all Iranian patriots who yearn for freedom to seize this moment, to be brave, be bold, be heroic, and take back your country. America is with you. I made a promise to you, and I fulfilled that promise. The rest will be up to you, but we'll be there to help. Thank you. God bless you to our incredible warriors, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Okay. So, okay, let's just kind of review where we're at here. So, as of this moment, this is the most up-to-date info we have here, 7:21 p.m. Already March 1st, 2026. So the Middle East remains in a state of turmoil following this joint U.S.-Israeli military, a series of strikes on Iran, which began yesterday. So the key developments here, Iran's retaliatory actions, which we're watching. First, we get these strikes on Iran. U.S. President Trump confirmed in a video address last night that American and Israeli forces launched this massive operation called Epic Fury, targeting Iran's nuclear facilities, ballistic missile sites, military bases, and key regime figures. The attacks resulted in the death of Iran's Ayatollah, the supreme leader, along with a number of other high-ranking Iranian officials. Iranian state media reporting at least 200 civilians killed and 747 injured across 24 provinces. Everything, I put it to you, coming from Iran in terms of information should be taken with a grain of salt, questioned. I'm seeing so much fake information coming from Iran. It's difficult to believe anything they say. President Trump has stated the campaign could last up to 4 weeks and is vowing to continue until all objectives, primarily regime change, as you just heard, and the elimination of Iran's nuclear threat, are met. He acknowledged potential further U.S. casualties today following the confirmed deaths, as you just heard again, of 3 American service members in Kuwait. In response, Iran has unleashed widespread retaliatory strikes targeting U.S. military assets and allies across the region. Over the past 48 hours, Iranian missiles and drones have hit at least 14 countries, including the United States via bases, Israel, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Qatar, Kuwait, Bahrain, Jordan, Iraq, Oman, Syria, Cyprus, France, Italy, a NATO site in Kuwait, hitting Italy in that way, and the United Kingdom through a base in Cyprus. So these attacks have struck not only military installations, but also civilian infrastructure, including airports in Dubai and Kuwait, luxury hotels in the UAE, and high-rise buildings in Bahrain and Qatar. Reports indicate at least 4 civilian deaths and over 100 injuries in the Gulf states from these strikes, with debris from intercepted missiles causing additional damage. Iran claims it's targeting U.S. interests, but has condemned the initial attacks as an act of aggression. On the potential for wider escalation, what we're seeing is Iran strikes have focused on the Middle East, and there are concerns about spillover. Iranian officials have threatened a global jihad if the conflict intensifies, but no direct attacks on Europe have been reported yet. The European Union, and we're going to come back to that, by the way, because I have a clip here from Starmer, and the European Union has condemned Iran's regional strikes. It has called for de-escalation, emphasizing diplomacy to prevent Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons. In the UAE and other Gulf regions already under fire, air defenses have intercepted hundreds of projectiles, but the assaults have disrupted oil shipments, closed schools, and suspended stock trading in Kuwait. Oil prices have surged 13% amid fears of prolonged disruption in the Strait of Hormuz. Our friend Michael Bader, PPC candidate here in Canada, riding in Burlington on last night, talking about the party position, I think, to some degree, but certainly his, and gave us his analysis, and he highlighted his concerns about the possibility of rising oil, therefore gasoline prices, and you're seeing that happening already. And that is because of disruptions in the Strait of Hormuz, just as was highlighted here on the program last night. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has announced plans for thousands more strikes, urging Iranians to rise against their regime, just as the president, Donald Trump, just did in that address, which we just shared with you. Meanwhile, protests and unrest continue in Iran, with reports of arson and explosions near the border in areas like Rakhshan Division. Iran's axis of resistance allies like Hezbollah and the Houthis have condemned the strikes but haven't joined the fighting yet. The U.S. maintains this is not an endless war, but a targeted effort to neutralize threats with no ground invasion planned. Indeed, it has been very much an air war so far. Likely will continue that way, even though you may notice that in the thumbnail for our broadcast tonight, you're seeing a stock image of a tank, and I just want to highlight that for you, just to acknowledge that for ethical reasons. That is a stock image of a tank in the thumbnail for our social media platforms tonight. And that also just, I just want to reinforce that this is pretty much an air war primarily, and naval assets as well in place. However, lawmakers note they note a lack of a clear day after strategy for Iran post-conflict. And that is something that I highlighted last night. I can't really tell what the real plan is here. I'm not sure there is one. From what we're seeing so far, the plan seems to be decapitate the Iranian government, create a vacuum, hope the people rise up, overthrow the government, and who knows what you get instead of what we've had. Global reactions to all of this vary. The UK has intercepted Iranian drones over Qatar, while Pakistan condemned the strikes on both sides after protesters stormed a U.S. consulate. So we're going to keep on monitoring all of this. It's a fast-moving situation, quickly developing, very fluid. We'll take a short break. We'll come back. We have more clips, more news, and some weirdness surrounding all of this to share with you on the other side. Don't go away.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
As I say, you know, the stuff coming out of Iran, you don't know what to believe. It's all propaganda, one way or another. Even their truth is propaganda. See, I don't know what to believe, but they did post this on social media. This popped up about an hour ago, being shared by RT. I'll run it for you. I have no idea what the guy's saying, but probably a lie. That's the truth, is that he's probably lying.
انجام شد. ناو هواپیمابر ابراهام لینکلن ارتش آمریکا با 4 فروند موشک کروز مورد حمله قرار گرفت. پس از حمله این ناو
following the attack, this US there's video out there of the ship burning, the US ship, and I think it's just fake.
آمریکا از محل استقرار
fled its mission
مأموریت خود به سمت جنوب شرق اقیانوس هند متواری شد. پایگاه دریایی السالم آمریکا در کویت در پی حملات اخیر کاملا از رده فعالیت خارج و 3 سازه زیرساختی دریایی محمد الاحمد آمریکا در کویت نیز منهدم شدند. پایگاه دریایی آمریکا در بندر سلمان بحرین مورد اصابت 4 فروند پهپاد قرار گرفته و خسارت شدیدی به مراکز فرماندهی و پشتیبانی آن وارد شده است. در ادامه حملات به اهداف دریایی دشمن متخاصم، 3 نفتکش متخلف کشورهای آمریکا و انگلیس در منطقه خلیج فارس و تنگه هرمز مورد اصابت موشکی قرار گرفته و در حال سوختن است. محل استقرار نظامیان آمریکایی در بحرین با 2 موشک بالستیک و سایر پایگاه‌های آمریکایی در منطقه مورد حملات پی در پی قرار گرفتند که این حملات منجر به کشته و زخمی شدن 560 نظامی آمریکایی تا این
I don't have a number on the US side for the number of injured, so I don't know if that's a lie or true. Certainly we know 3 people killed confirmed by the US, but injured, don't know. I'll check it. Okay, so probably a bunch of lies. Let me check that. How many injured on the US side? That's a lot. So let's see what we have here. Yeah, 5 service members seriously wounded. 5, not 570. There's some minor injuries, other minor injuries among others. But in terms of actual casualties, it looks like we have is 3 tragically killed and 5 others seriously injured. So believe what you want. I'm just giving you the information best I can. I can tell you that the UK has agreed to a US request to use British military bases for defensive strikes on Iranian missile sites. According to Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister says the UK had learned lessons from the mistakes of Iraq and was not involved in the initial strikes on Iran and will not join offensive action now. He says the basis of the decision to accept the U.S. request was the collective self-defense of allies and protecting British lives, accusing Iran of pursuing a scorched earth strategy. And so the information is that the U.S. is likely going to use RAF Fairford in Gloucestershire and Diego Garcia in the Indian Ocean for strikes on Iranian missile sites. So in a statement posted just a while ago, earlier today, Keir Starmer says the United States would use the UK bases for the specific and limited defensive purpose of destroying Iran's missiles at source. He says this move This decision was in accordance with international law, and the UK government has published what it said was a summary of its legal advice. Now, last month, it was reported that the British government had not given permission for the U.S. to use UK military bases to support any potential U.S. strikes on Iran. Donald Trump said at the time it may be necessary for U.S. to use RAF Fairford and Diego Garcia for operations if Iran should decide not to make a deal. Apparently, we don't have a deal, but we do have this conflict escalating. Both bases have been used by the U.S. in the past to conduct long-range heavy bombing missions. The U.S. and Israel, of course, began their attacks yesterday, and now we have Keir Starmer in this statement. Let me get you the video. Coming up, here we go. We've got him.
The United States has requested permission to use British bases for that specific and limited defensive purpose. We have taken the decision to accept this request to prevent Iran firing missiles across the region, killing innocent civilians, putting British lives at risk, and hitting countries that have not been involved.
Yeah. Now, let's check the latest. What's the latest on the ground? I can find this for you. Here we go. Let's get some map action going up here. We'll update this. Okay. Let's bring up the map. Okay, folks, we are going to the Middle East via graphics. Here we go. So this is, where are we at here? The drone that attempted to target a base within the security perimeter of Baghdad International Airport was shot down that 2 hours ago. And a security threat, this also posted 2 hours ago, this information. A security threat was declared at the British bases in Cyprus shortly before midnight. Sources informed the Cyprus Mail. The personnel of the base were told of the threat and instructed to return to your homes and stay inside until further notice. They were also told to move away from windows and take cover behind or beneath substantial solid furniture and to await further instruction. You can see the action through the map here. What else do we have happening? So the Popular Mobilization Forces in Iraq and acknowledged the death of 4 and the injury of 11 in raids on the city of Al-Qaim. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. Just 1 second here. Yeah. Okay, I need just another moment here. Well, I'm just a little distracted queuing stuff up. So let me take a very brief break. I'll be right back on the other side of this.
Maverick News isn't just a news outlet, it's a community of truth seekers. Your donation at freedomreporters.com fuels our mission to report the stories that mainstream media won't touch. Thank you, Maverick family.
Yeah, sorry for my little disjointed moment there. So yeah, right here too. Also, media catching up on this permission being granted for Diego Garcia and RAF Fairford to be used by the U.S. to strike Iranian missile facilities. And the U.S. military saying 3 hours ago, we targeted Iranian ballistic missile systems. Also, 3 hours ago, explosions in Jerusalem skies moments ago as Iran's missiles are intercepted. Certainly, we know that ballistic missile sites have been targeted by the U.S. overnight. That is because, and thank you to Mike McCarrick for sending this updated information to us tonight, just highlighting the work being done journalistically by TWZ and military publication online. I'll just bring this up, give them credit for the work they're doing. B-2 Spirits join Iran air war, pummel underground missile caves. It says, just as we expected, B-2 Spirits have entered the air campaign against Iran last night, flying global air power missions from their home base in Whiteman, Missouri. America's stealth bombers arrived over Iranian airspace in early morning hours and targeted Iran's missile caves. These facilities are built deep under mountains and are primarily used for storage, but some of them have actually have the ability to launch ballistic missiles through fissures in their ceilings. B-2s will likely show up tonight, it says here, making direct attacks on key targets, and it appears that is the case. That's just a GIF of a B-2, a GIF image. There were some indications the B-2 movements were underway, including tanker sorties from the Azores that didn't have a visible customer. Prioritizing missile cave complexes as a target for America's Silver Bullet stealth bomber force is an obvious decision, it says here. As we have stated for years, destroying these complexes is challenging. They are made up of different chambers that can be sealed off from one another, so very complex weaponeering and a large quantity of specialized munitions would be needed to even attempt at destroying them completely. And this is interesting. I've seen this stuff before. Or it says here, Iran, in this X post, Iran is responding to external threats by releasing a new video showcasing one of its underground missile tunnel systems packed with missile engines, mobile launchers, and a range of advanced weaponry. The footage prominently features the Pave cruise missile and the Goddard 380. And again, I don't know if I'm pronouncing those words correctly, as I am not fluent in that language. However, let's take a look here. Where did my tab go? Oh, yes, right here. Right there. We'll open it up on this tab so you can see the full video. I'm going to show you this Iranian propaganda film. Have you seen any of these videos down in the in the missile bunkers in the mountains, the caves? Here we go. If you haven't, it's a cinematic treat. Here you go. It's actually not news on me. Yeah, as I've said, I think perhaps the most important and effective and efficient weapon the Iranian regime has at its disposal is its propaganda department. Yeah, they make entertaining videos, but they lie a lot. They lie a lot. They lie a lot. So I don't know how much damage truly has been done at this point. I don't know. I don't know if anything's real anymore. And we're going to get to that too by the end of the broadcast tonight. But I can't say how much real actual damage has been done as a result of these strikes. And certainly even with the B-2 bombers being used overnight, maybe with bunker busters again. I don't know exactly who knows is really what it comes down to. We know something happened. We know there's certainly some damage, but we were told that the nuclear program was obliterated so that this wouldn't have to happen. But here we are, the president of peace at war with Iran, and it's spilling over into other countries as Iran seems to want to pull other nations into this conflict. It's interesting because I noted it was about 3, 4, maybe 5 nights ago, somewhere in that range, where Vladimir Zelensky made a statement saying that Vladimir Putin has started World War III. There was something, I get just a gut feeling, just the way that it resonated with me, the way that it just landed here. And it was like right in front of me, that statement. And I thought that there's weight to that. There's something about him saying that has real importance. Just a short time later, we see this happen with Iran. And now you're seeing this conflict spill out into other countries. You're seeing potentially attacks even in the United States and maybe in Canada too, like actions, maybe not like outright attacks, but actions. Some are saying sleeper cells activated, but attacks of some kind, maybe terrorist attacks. I think that there's a high risk of retaliatory actions like that because you don't fight a superpower by just going toe to toe. You have to if you're a smaller power as Iran is, you have to do other things. And as much as they're rattling the saber and showing you these videos to try to scare people, they're using that as a deterrent to say, don't you dare, we're going to do this. But they really just are so outclassed, it's just such an uneven match. They don't stand a chance just in terms of sheer firepower. But we've seen time and again through history, smaller nations fighting the United States and Russia in various conflicts where you don't fight, just straight on, nose to nose, toe to toe, fighting fire with fire. The smaller powers go to guerrilla warfare. They go to acts of terrorism. And then these things tend to linger and persist. The UK tonight, Keir Starmer saying they've learned lessons from Iraq. So not involved in the initial strikes. Canada also saying Canada will not be involved in any kind of military action directly in Iran. This is pretty much the United States and Israel, the two nations on their own, and it's spilling out into other countries. Zelensky, this is the thing I've been saying to people who say, Ukraine doesn't have anything to do with us. We shouldn't be involved. And I disagree. It is connected to us. It does impact us here. The world is a much smaller place today than it has ever been before. It's getting smaller all the time. What goes on over there has an impact here. What goes on over there has an impact in the Middle East. You've seen the support back and forth between Israel and Ukraine. You can see the alliances on each side that have formed: Russia, China, Iran, those Axis powers. You have Ukraine, Israel, the United States, UK, the traditional allies, except that Donald Trump is alienating our traditional allies, big, the strongest of the U.S. allies, the U.K. and, even Canada. So this is a problem. And you're seeing those cracks, I think, on full display here, even as the UK is saying, go ahead and use these bases. It has taken a little bit of time to get there. That should send a message, I think, to the U.S. administration, the U.S. government, and Americans, I would think. Time to mend some fences, I think. I'll tell you this, Canada's going to be there no matter what. Because we're joined at the hip, always will be, always have been. Even as the president wants to, I don't want to talk about it. So you know what he wants to do. And it's playing out. God help us all. But something like this has a way of rekindling old alliances, I think, or current alliances, and just reinforcing the importance of them. Let's hope so. That would be a good thing that would come out of all of this. Maybe I can find the info here on Zelensky. Yeah, right here. Let me take a look at this. He says Ukraine's air defense expertise is irreplaceable. This is the statement that I made reference to of Zelensky saying that they're prepared, Ukraine is prepared to defend Europe. Right here. And that's because of the drone technology, I think, that Ukraine has become so proficient with. It says this is in the Kyiv Independent. Ukraine's air defense expertise irreplaceable. The expanding war in the Middle East highlights the importance of Ukraine's expertise in air defense, particularly in shooting down Iranian drones, President Volodymyr Zelensky said in his evening address. Zelensky comments came a day after the U.S. and Israel launched strikes against Iran on February 28th, killing the country's supreme leader and several other high-ranking officials. Iran has retaliated, launching missile and drone attacks on Israel and against U.S. military assets in the United Arab Emirates, Iraq, Bahrain, Kuwait, and Qatar. In a statement released, Zelensky voiced support for the strikes and the overthrow of Iranian leadership, pointing out that Russia, Iran's strategic partner, has used more than 57,000 Shahed-type drones in its attacks against Ukraine since 2022. Could you imagine? I don't think anyone here in Canada can imagine, unless you've lived in one of these countries in a war zone. I'm so grateful that I've never had to live in a situation under those conditions. Like 57,000 drones launched against Ukraine since 2022. Ukraine's experience fending off Iranian-designed weapons can now be used to help its allies, Zelensky says. The situation in the Middle East shows how difficult it is to provide 100% protection against missiles and Shaheeds. Everyone now sees that our experience in defense is largely irreplaceable. Zelensky says Kyiv is prepared to share this experience with nations that have helped Ukraine survive its worst winter of the full-scale war. And that's because, of course, both sides targeting energy infrastructure, Ukraine going after the oil still, and I think electricity generation. So, too, is Russia doing the same thing on the other side, but also hitting a lot of civilian areas as well, and too many civilian casualties for sure. It says here Ukraine is closely monitoring developments in the U.S.-Israel-Iran war and coordinating with allies as the situation evolves. Ukraine's partners have been directly impacted by the spreading violence in the aftermath of the bombardment of Iran. The UK Defense Ministry reported earlier today that a Royal Air Force fighter jet intercepted an Iranian drone over Qatar. So as I highlighted earlier, yes, Iran is trying to drag other countries into this conflict. That's why I highlighted Zelensky's statement from just earlier in the week, less than a week ago, saying that Putin had started World War III. See, I think what he's getting at there is that by invading Ukraine, you're creating the conflict there. There are these connections between these allied nations. Iran sending weapons to Russia to support Russia in its war against its aggression against Ukraine. Ukraine supporting Israel. Israel forming something of an alliance with Ukraine. And it's all kind of gelling now. It's sort of pulling sides together. It's sort of polarizing and then galvanizing. And yet the United States still very much isolated, I would say, except for Israel. And that is the case here. And yet, see, yeah, blood is thicker than water, and the blood is there. Those historic links between the UK, the United States, Canada, the Commonwealth, all the Commonwealth nations, even though the United States had their 1776 moment. There's just a lot of history there. Family. And a lot of blood spilled and a lot of wars over a lot of time. It sort of does inevitably, no matter what, keep you together, you know. Iraq, Afghanistan, right, wrong, whatever. It happened. We were there together then, and even though all this craziness is happening now, we're still together now.
You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth.
The entire world is watching.
Every dictator, every crazy dictator in the world is watching. The world is watching. On TV, the entire world is watching. On social media. But the entire world is watching, and yes, they are seeing what we have apparently bravely been willing to say that others are thinking.
Stand for freedom. Literally stand for freedom. Let's get this done. The entire world is watching.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars.
Maverick News. Maverick News. Maverick News.
Let me have more control of my own destiny.
The world is watching.
Okay. Hang on here a moment. A report here that the CIA had tracked the Ayatollah secretly for months before the lethal strike that killed him, tracking every move he made. MSNBC reporting that as well on this, that it wasn't a lucky hit. It was a planned, precision, highly targeted move that resulted in the Ayatollah being taken out along with other key members of the Iranian regime. Intelligence, military intelligence. It's the key to everything. So again, tonight, as we get to the top of the hour here, just to recap where we're at. 3 U.S. service members confirmed killed in action. 5 more seriously injured, wounded in these military operations against Iran. U.S. military confirming those numbers. Crazy numbers coming from the Iranian side, 570 casualties, they say, on the U.S. side, but clearly that's not true. President Trump saying there will likely be more American casualties before this Operation Epic Fury ends. He's saying it could drag on for at least, maybe even 4 weeks. Lawmakers, Congress to receive classified briefings Tuesday from Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, CIA Director John Ratcliffe, and the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. They will brief all House and Senate members. Again, that coming up on Tuesday in 2 days' time. Israel launched a whole new wave of strikes today against Tehran as it continued to hit targets across Iran this day after the country's supreme leader was killed. And Iran has retaliated. Air raid sirens heard over Tel Aviv as Iran fired back at Israel. And the Israeli military saying it is working on intercepting those missiles, and I think largely successful, mostly successful. Tonight, more than 200 people have died in Iran, according to the Iranian Red Crescent Society. And we are receiving reports tonight that 10 people have been killed in Israel, including 8 today in a single strike. And we're seeing also that this war has spilled out across borders and includes strikes in the UAE. Although some people are disputing that, and we'll get to that at the end of the broadcast. So Iran has not collapsed. At least the leadership hasn't completely collapsed. They have appointed Ayatollah Ali Reza Arafi as the jurist member of Iran's Leadership Council, the body temporarily running Iran after the Ayatollah's killing or death. And other members include President Masoud Pezeshkian and Judiciary Chief Gholam Hossein Mohseni Ejai. I'm sorry, again, I'm probably not pronouncing that correctly. I've not heard that name before, so I'm not familiar with any of the backgrounds on these people, but I will do some homework on that overnight and learn more about who it is that is now running Iran, filling the vacuum, at least for the moment, of leadership in the country, which was created after these initial strikes, which continue even this evening. So we are seeing a volatile situation, and oil too. Big question. We've seen reports here that oil prices are already beginning to surge. One report there tonight saying on the world markets, oil prices up about 13% already. So we will have to monitor that. I've got, let me bring this back for you. It's okay. We can come back to that. All right, we've got it here. Okay, so let's just go to the NBC. Here is something that may help us just understand with a little more depth and clarity what the situation is with oil, since you may want to go and fill up your car as car tonight before the price of gasoline rises.
What happens to those expected to rise today now as the fighting continues and Iran escalating its attacks in the region too? You heard Keir Simmons earlier in this discussion talk about the Strait of Hormuz. Huge. This is a huge global shipping route for oil. It is a big deal. It is, as you can see, geographically right in the thick of where everything is happening. I want to bring in NBC News business and economy reporter Ali Canal. So talk us through it. Let's start with oil prices. Trading picks up later today. Expectation is a potential spike, right?
Yeah, analysts tell me oil prices are likely to rise when markets reopen at 6 p.m. Eastern tonight. Now, crude could jump anywhere from a few dollars a gallon to as much as 15 to 20 bucks a barrel here. Now, that would push oil back to that $80 to $90 range. We haven't seen sustained levels like that in quite some time. Now, economists this morning were also urging caution, noting that global oil production today is significantly higher than it was 2 decades ago. There are roughly 90 million barrels currently floating on tankers worldwide. That can act as a sort of buffer here. So it's very possible that we will see volatility, but history shows that these spikes often moderate once we see shipping resume. Of course, that is a big question when it comes to the timing, and it's something that markets will be closely watching in the days and weeks ahead here.
So then talk through the gas price impact, right? And what that means is the trickle-down effect.
Yeah, I mean, crude prices very closely correlated with the price of gas, and we could see that flow through very quickly. Typically, every $1 move in the price of crude, that translates to roughly 2 to 3 cents a gallon for gas. So an increase of 15 to 20 bucks in oil, that can mean gas prices rise anywhere from 30 to 60 cents a gallon. And that's on top of some of those normal increases that we typically see around this time. We have more drivers on the road. We do have those refineries switching to more expensive summer blends. So this could really hit consumers all at the same time here. And if we take a step back, Iran only contributes about 3 to 4% of global oil production. So that direct impact is somewhat contained. But you mentioned the Strait of Hormuz. That's really the critical question here. It sits right along the southern coast of Iran. You're seeing that map now, a very narrow passageway. That's what analysts and experts are really focused on. Any disruptions there, that's going to contribute further to sustained increases in oil and therefore the prices that you pay at the pump.
Pull back out just a little bit too here, Ali, before I let you go. It's not just oil. This is a critical cargo route as well. We've seen 2 of the world's biggest shippers say they're going to suspend operations for obvious reasons here for at least a little bit. What kind of a timeline on an impact there? What kind of impact does that have for shipments that are going to other parts of the world?
Yeah, I mean, we're already seeing some of that impact as you just laid out here. I mean, huge disruptions here. They're going to have to change up their routes, possibly go around the Cape of Good Hope. That's off the coast of South Africa. Now, that's going to add weeks of delays. It's going to drive up production costs, create port congestions, drive up shipping costs, and that all puts a lot of pressure on global supply chains. We are still dealing with some of the effects of the shocks that happened during the COVID-19 pandemic. So this is very critical here. And if we see some of that sustained pressure, that's likely going to lead to slower economic growth across the globe at a time when inflation remains elevated. So that's the key economic question here moving forward.
Yeah. Strait of Hormuz, that's all about. See, we've seen problems there with Yemen and the Houthis aligned with Iran, trying to control the Strait of Hormuz shipping route, right? Now that's a major concern, again, because of the attacks on Iran and the conflict spilling over across the border into neighboring countries, and maybe even not just neighboring countries, but further afield, maybe in Europe. And it's I think maybe having an impact in the United States and maybe even in Canada right now, because there was, as I say, this, I don't think that the thing in Cincinnati with the 9 injured after the mass shooting there is necessarily connected to this. I just highlighted that as another shooting incident in the U.S. overnight or early this morning, I think about 1 a.m. But certainly this one in Texas is of concern. Some speculation, and evidence even to suggest that this might be related in some way, or that the conflict may have at least been the factor that triggered a mass shooting in Austin. Let's go to CBS Austin. This is not fresh. This is recorded, but I'm going to bring you some of the news conference here, the briefing with Austin police explaining the situation there. Hang on just one moment. Let me cue it. Almost have it. A lot of clicking to do. Here we go.
Well, thank you all for being here. This is, as I indicated earlier, obviously an extremely significant moment and a very significant event.
This is the mayor.
It is one that has brought significant trauma to our city, and our hearts go out to the individual victims and their families as a result of this event.
Dentures shouldn't be loose, uncomfortable, or...
Here we go.
Something I said earlier this morning, and that is my deep thanks and pride in the work that has been done by our first responders and by our police. There is no question in my mind that the quick response of the police officers and of our EMS personnel and those professionals made a difference and saved lives. That is an important thing for us to keep in mind as we go through this and we go both the trauma of this and the investigation, and that is the very professional, extremely competent and quick response of our police and our EMS personnel saving lives under these circumstances. The other thing I will point out is that this is, and you'll hear this from professional law enforcement here in just a moment, this is an ongoing investigation. We are going to work to make sure that the public has information as thorough and as rapidly as is professionally appropriate as we continue with this investigation. But I'm going to let the professionals tell you more about that. I just want to make sure everybody understands we're doing this well and we're doing it right, but that sometimes takes time. But we will make sure that the public has the information as rapidly as is professional and appropriate. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our police chief, Lisa Davis.
Thank you, Mayor. As always, appreciate your leadership. Again, condolences to families. And there are families right now that are unfortunately identifying their loved ones. We have families that are at hospital rooms waiting for outcomes from surgery. That's the reality of what we're dealing with today. So let's talk about what happened, what we know. Around 1:58, we had a call came in that someone was shooting around the bar, Buford's bar. We know that a vehicle, a large SUV, drove several times around the block in that area. At one point, he put his flashers on, rolled down his window, and began using a pistol shooting out of his car windows, striking patrons of the bar that were on the patio and that were in front of the bar. He then proceeds westbound on 6th Street, goes to Wood Street where he parks his car, gets out, once again starts shooting his gun at some people that are walking by. He then walks east on 6th Street. At that point, everyone knows the amount of resources we use on East 6th Street, a large crowd, a large entertainment area here in Austin, where officers along with EMS and fire are staged for the weekend. And so you're talking, when this came out, we were about 56 seconds away coming from east to west Austin, and that saved multiple lives. As the officers were responding, again, our suspect was coming toward East Austin, or East 6th Street. Officers were coming toward him, and at the intersection, he was shot, and he was killed. At this time, again, I want to thank our partners, our federal partners, our EMS, fire, crime scene, our victim services that are on scene. Again, this is really tough time for the city of Austin. At this point, I'll go ahead and turn it over to FBI for some comments from them as well.
Thank you, Chief. Again, Alex Dorn, I'm the acting special agent in charge for the San Antonio field office of the FBI. We want to extend our deepest condolences as well to the victims and their families of this tragic incident. I also want to sincerely thank Austin Police Department and the officers for their extremely rapid response to the incident. There is no doubt that those officers saved countless lives with their quick reaction and quick training to respond to the shooter and address the threat. The FBI is working in lockstep with our partners, with Austin Police Department. We have members from our evidence response team, as well as our many other specialty teams, including our digital forensics folks that are on scene, helping to address the scene and gather additional evidence. Obviously, it's still way too early in the process to determine an exact motivation, but there were indicators that on the subject and in his vehicle that indicate potential nexus to terrorism. Again, it's still too early to make a determination on that. That's why we are investigating it very closely with our partners with Austin Police Department.
This is The Real Me, and this is an
conclusion. We are committed to seeing this process through to the very end, and we will continue to work very closely with our partners with Austin Police Department. Thank you.
I want to also ask our Chief Lukritz to come up and say a few words related to emergency medical services.
Good morning, Rob Lukritz, Chief of Austin Travis County EMS. Again, our condolences go out to all the families that were involved in this. Austin Travis County EMS received the first calls at 1:59 in the morning. As Chief Davis stated earlier, we had medical care on site treating patients within 57 seconds as part of a program between Austin Travis County EMS and the Austin Police Department, where we have paramedics embedded with the teams during the peak of entertainment hours. All total, we had more than 20 EMS resources that responded to the scene. We had all critical patients off the scene within 24 minutes and all patients off the scene within 47 minutes. In total, there were 17 patients treated, 3 were pronounced on scene, and 14 were transported to local hospitals, 3 in critical condition. And with that, I'll turn this back over to Mayor Watson.
Yeah, if you have some questions, we'll, as it was indicated, we're going to be able to answer a few questions. Again, I want to say that because this is an ongoing investigation, we want to get as much information out to everyone that is in a professional and appropriate way. So there may be some things that we defer on, but if you have questions, please feel free. And
we're just going to point you out, so we'll take it started here. So we heard from a source that there were potentially, that they were told that there were explosives under the suspect's car. Can you confirm that?
So once the subject's car was identified, of course, we need to make sure that we're operating safely within that car. There were some things inside the car that gave us concern. So our EOD responded to ensure that there was no, bomb material, that type of thing. So that was cleared pretty quickly. That we felt confident that that was not an issue.
So there were no.
There were no bombs. No.
Thank you.
Was he ever in the bar with guns, or when did he?
He never entered the bar. Like I said, he drove by, was firing outside the window with a pistol. Once he exited the vehicle after parking on wood, he exited with a rifle at that point.
Good. Do you have any questions? No. Yeah. Yeah. You guys? All right. Next.
Can you kind of just describe the general setup of police and EMS presence in this area of town on a typical Saturday, and a little more of what happened?
Yeah, I think it just goes to show what that coordination is. We know, East 6th Street is a large party atmosphere, and streets are closed, they're open. We're mitigating a lot of people in that small space. And so to have EMS, to have EMS, fire, and APD together working, it is just for things like this. And so again, we're very fortunate in those partnerships, and we work very well together. Very proud of that, and it showed that it worked. Again, I feel like a lot of lives were saved from this. We will be having a briefing tomorrow. Don't have the time yet. We'll get that to you. We'll have more information at that time. Yep, go ahead. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, EMS and the Austin Police Department have worked closely together for a number of years. However, there's been significant investment over the past 3 to 4 years in that partnership, including adding dedicated EMS resources to the entertainment district on the weekends, as well as supplemental paramedics that are embedded with the Austin Police Department on various apparatus, including like Polaris Rangers and things that can rapidly respond in the event of an active shooter situation. Those resources were deployed this weekend, and those are the individuals that arrived on scene. There are several up every weekend evening, as well as the additional resources that we have dedicated to the entertainment district, separate from our partnership with EPD. All those resources came together today as planned, and had all of the things that we needed in place to be able to effectively manage the scene.
Okay.
Thank you. One more question.
Yeah, you said indicators of terrorism. Can you say domestic terrorism or international terrorism? And then also, can you confirm the Joint Terrorism Task Force involvement?
Yes, so since the second question, since it's a matter we're looking at it as a potential matter of terrorism, obviously the Joint Terrorism Task Force is engaged, which obviously includes members from Austin Police Department as well as several federal and state and local partners. In terms of specifically what type of terrorism, we're just at this point prepared to say that it was potentially an act of terrorism.
You specifically mentioned indicators that were on the person. Can you give more description as to what indicators you're talking about?
Again, not at this time. We're not prepared to release that information just because it's very early stages of the investigation, and we wouldn't want to potentially impute any further investigative actions.
How many firearms did the suspect
have? There were 2. There was the pistol that he used out the window, and then the rifle.
All right, guys.
Thank you all very
Thank
much.
you.
We want to thank you again. We want to say that our hearts go out to the victims and their families. And we will continue to provide information so that you're aware of what's going on and the public can be aware. But I want to end by saying once again how proud I am that the Austin Police and EMS were able to respond so rapidly and save lives. Thank you all very much.
Okay, but I have more on this. So don't go away. Taking a short break, and then I'll have that for you on the other side of this.
Maverick News. Fighting for freedom.
Brightleaf Innovations is excited to offer our newest investment opportunity. The Turn Easy Bed Storage Solution.
Turns with a touch, spins all the way around. Every little thing you need is easy to be found. No more clutter, no more mess on the floor. Just spin it, reach it, you don't search anymore. Turn Easy Bed, spin your world around. Storage made simple, the best you found. Shelves your way, keep the mess away. Charge it, store it, night or day. Custom shelves for your books or your tech. Cozy space for your treasures to protect. Built-in power when you need to recharge. Smart design that makes your bedroom feel large. Turn Easy Bed, spin your world around. Storage made simple, the best you found. Innovations. Proudly Canadian and patent pending in North America. Turn Easy Bed transforms how you live.
To learn more about this innovative new product idea, an exciting investment opportunity, call 519-784-0222 or visit brightleafinnovations.com.
Okay, still queuing this up. Hang on, just about gotcha. Where did we go here? I want to show you the footage outside Austin. And I'm going to show you the weirdness surrounding everything going on. Here we go. Here's, again, viewer discretion advised. This is footage, I guess, of the shots being fired outside the bar. So I'll share this with you. Again, haven't watched the whole thing here. It's a short clip, but just in case, you may not want to look. Could be violent. Here we go. And you see the video credit on the bottom of Nathan Como.
What is going on? What the fuck is going on? Jesus fucking Christ! What the fuck?
Okay. Now here's the thing, okay? So this is where the speculation on this potentially being linked to what's going on in Iran comes into the situation, because at the time of the shooting, the shooter wore a sweatshirt that said "Property of Allah" and a shirt underneath with an Iranian flag theme. According to sources at the scene, he was shot and killed by police shortly after, as you heard in the previous report. So authorities are saying they're still working to determine a possible motive for this attack. So don't know for sure if it is an act of terrorism, but these are the pieces of evidence we have so far. The authorities saying there were indicators that on the subject and in his vehicle that indicate potential nexus to terrorism. That's from Alex Doran, that special agent with the San Antonio FBI field office, said. And again, it's still too early to make a determination of that. And a Homeland Security official is on record saying that the shooter first entered the United States March 13th, 2000 on a B-2 tourist visa, became a lawful permanent resident in 2006 because he married a U.S. citizen and became a naturalized citizen in 2013. The official has confirmed, and this person arrested in 2022 in Texas for a collision with vehicle damage. The president has been briefed on this situation in Austin, which took place outside that bar Buford's, a popular beer garden in downtown Austin. And then that video that we just showed you is beginning to go viral online. Just bring this back for you and highlight the comment from the FBI for you. Bring it up. And there.
Still way too early in the process. Obviously, it's still way too early in the process to determine an exact motivation, but there were indicators that on the subject and in his vehicle that indicate potential nexus to terrorism.
So potential nexus to terrorism were the words used. And that, of course, is fueling all kinds of commentary, speculation, conspiracy theories. And so, of course, who would you expect to weigh in on all of that? The one, the only Alex Jones. Let me share that. He's saying it's all confirmed. It's
Killing
absolutely
3,
100%
wounding at least
terrorism.
15, some in critical condition.
There you go.
I've had 99% confirmation of this since this morning, but I wanted it to be triple confirmed. The man from Senegal, Africa, that's 97% Muslim, who is a Muslim, who became a U.S. citizen, who lived here in Austin, Texas, went out with a sweatshirt saying "Property of Allah," and then camo pants, and went to a popular nightclub area and shot up a bunch of people, killing 3, wounding at least 15, some in critical condition. And as soon as I noticed this morning that it wasn't a big story, I said automatically, I thought, oh, well, it'll be a black guy and or a Muslim, because whenever a mass shooting is shut down, you know that's it. Even if it's in Europe, it's the same rule. And so I started making some phone calls and confirmed from my law enforcement sources, media sources, my military sources, FBI source here in Austin, that indeed that's the case. And I've then talked to some journalists, I'll leave it at that, that have talked to the FBI and others, not just the Quran in his car, but what was on his social media before they scrubbed it, and more that's been found. He was specifically pissed off about the Ayatollah Khamenei being killed and being announced yesterday. And so he suited up and went out to kill infidels. That's why his country's 97% Muslim. 500 years ago, it wasn't. They let some Muslims in. Over time, Iran used to have no Muslims. They let a couple thousand in. It's run by them. Now, there's 2 types of countries that have been taken over by Islam, and those they're trying to take over. So I had Barad Morello on yesterday during the Saturday show I did, and I talked about how I looked at demographics. Texas has some of the biggest Shiite populations in the country. That's the 20% sect of Islam that Iran basically runs, the Council of 12. And their main concentration, pretty much of anywhere in the U.S., is Texas. Dallas, Houston, Austin, San Antonio, you name it. And I said on air, I believe you're going to have terror attacks. I believe you're going to have sleeper cells activated or just lone wolves that are pissed off in the next few weeks. And I'll have that clip on my show today that's coming up in about 1 hour at Real Alex Jones on X, and of course on Rumble, the Alex Jones show. My regular Sunday show, 4 to 8 p.m. is about to kick off. We'll have all this and a lot more
Maverick
straight ahead. And you also have
check is in the mail.
Shiites attacking U.S. embassies and stuff around the world. We'll get to that and the latest developments on the attack on Iran. But we'll have more on the attack on Austin as well. So be sure to watch the space. Real Alex Jones on X. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I think we've got that pretty much covered off, except that it extends to Canada too. Because, well, at least it seems to anyway. Information being released by North York Police, Toronto area, Canada. An Iranian Canadian activist had his gym shot up just hours after the news came out that the Ayatollah had been killed in these attacks. So speculation that this might be connected, because this guy is a well-known activist for Iranian freedom, and York Regional Police investigating that angle on it to see if that is a factor, if it maybe was the motivation behind it. He's this gentleman, his name is Salar Golami. He's a Canadian cruiserweight champion, grew up in Iran, runs the Salawan Boxing Club in York Region. And the front of his gym was shot up in Richmond Hill after it was shot, numerous times with bullet holes going through some of the windows in the front of the business, which has pro-Iranian liberation flags and pictures on display there. Bullets everywhere is what's the description coming out of there. I've got video of the proprietor of that gym posted. He posted this, I think it was on Instagram. Let me, we've got him right here. Here it is here. So in his own words, with his own video showing you the damage at his gym. Possibly a response to the attacks, conflict, the war in Iran. And you see his shirt, Shah, the Shah, before 1979.
یه سری تروریست حمله کردن به باشگاه ما و شروع کردن به تیراندازی. 17 تا تیر جنگی زدن. کل این پیاما من گرفتم، اما میبینین که چطوری به باشگاه ما حمله کردن که تمام تلاشمون این بود که بتونیم اینجا صدای مردم باشیم و جای گلوله هاشون رو میبینین که دیگه چطوری رفته. و این باشگاه از موقعی که تازه باز کردیم مقر این فعالیت های ما بود در تورنتو، اما واقعیتش اینه که من آرزومه که در راه ایران و در راه اعلیحضرت جون بدم، بمیرم. همین الان 2 ماه شرمنده هم از این که زنده هم. میبینین که این 17 بار نشون داده که 17 بار ترسیدن، 17 بار به اون نهایتش رسیدن. میبینین که پایگاه سپاه رو تو ایران دارن شخ میزنن و اینا از ترسشون این کار کردن. فرقی نمیکنه تو طرفدار جمهوری اسلامی باشی یا از طرف حزب دیگه. من یک کرد وطن پرستم که آرزومه در راه ایران بمیرم، ولی این آرزو رو شما به گور میبرین. ایران رو پس میگیریم، این آخرین نبرد.
Here just a moment. I need to stop that from looping in my audio. That's better. All right. Another quick break. So we've touched on Alex Jones, but don't worry, it gets weirder. Okay, so don't go away because you're not gonna want to miss what we've got lined up for you next. Be right back.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals. Defenders of individual rights and freedoms. Credible. Trusted. Grounded in reality. Maverick News. Maverick News. Defending free speech. Free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching. Maverick News. The world is watching.
All right. So this is the the biggest concern, I guess, that I had overnight. Is that it could result in terrorist activity, terror attacks on U.S. and Canadian soil, and in Europe and elsewhere around the world. And we're seeing evidence that that might be the case. Now you can spin that in a variety of ways, as you just heard Alex Jones spin it. But it's important to keep things in perspective and not let somebody drag you down a rabbit hole while they're also sharing some aspect of truth. I'll leave it there for now, but I will show you the footage outside from Cincinnati as well. 13 people shot at Riverfront Live music venue, another mass shooting, and the circumstances surrounding this one, again, not really clear, but it's happening as we have this heightened concern about possible, oh, for crying out loud, I lost the link. One moment. I apologize if you just click the wrong thing. They disappear off the screen. I'll bring it back. Almost have it for you. Here we go. I've got it back now. Here's the footage. Try one more time for the cue. Click there and click here, and then click back over here, and then click there. And now you can watch. If I come back, there you go.
So we are live here at Riverfront Live. This is right here on Kellogg Avenue, right in front of the UDF gas station, where Cincinnati Police and Fire Department was dispatched for a report of a shooting, multiple victims. As per units on scene in the hospital, they have said that 12
This is not live.
Have been reportedly shot or have been transported to the hospital at this time. I believe there's some people may still be here on scene that suffered either minor injuries or we don't know the extent of injuries at this time.
Anyway, that was the scene. Earlier when that shooting took place. So yeah, all that going on. I'll just go back here, just checking for the latest information. I don't see any new developments really on the Iran conflict as we sit here at the moment, other than I am seeing some indications that more U.S. aircraft being launched tonight. And I would say that's likely happening because the conflict is really still very much, I think, in its early stages. And as that is going on, we've also seen these retaliatory strikes. I have footage here from places including Bahrain and the UAE. Here's here's the situation as it happened in Bahrain. Thick smoke seen rising above the capital there. Fire reportedly coming from that naval base used by the U.S. military, which is being used by the Navy's 5th Fleet. And There. So this footage, I say, is real. And there are also reports of these attacks in the UAE. So let me... But there's some dispute about this stuff. Let's just do a Twitter scroll and just see what happens when we punch up this, because there's some Andrew Tate, who I don't normally pay any attention to, but people sending me his stuff tonight saying, Andrew Tate says this war isn't real. And we did highlight this, actually. I think I might have mentioned it last night in brief. But here's the Twitter scroll. Defense Journal. Breaking. The UAE warns Iran that if missile and drone attacks on its territory continue, it may take stronger defensive action and is prepared to defend its sovereignty. Scroll down. Regional escalation. Iran targeted 7 countries, according to this map. So as you can see, it is spilling across borders. Attack on Kurdistan region's gas field. Khormor gas field in Iraq's Kurdistan region, developed by UAE's Dana Gas, has been hit by a barrage of rocket attacks. Initial reports attribute the attacks to Iranian-linked Hezbollah of Iraq, have claimed responsibility. Kamal gas field attacked in Iraq. And that's old audio. We don't need that tonight. And Saudi Crown Prince told leaders of the UAE, Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait, and Jordan that Saudi Arabia stands fully with them after the Iranian attacks and is ready to help with whatever they need. So it looks like it's a real conflict to me. In Qatar, Al Qassim Air Base. And just in air defense systems, this is from yesterday, intercepted an Iranian missile over UAE's Dubai Marina. Authorities began evacuating people from Burj Khalifa, the world's tallest building. U.S. officials warn attacks could continue for days or weeks. I'll bring this up so it's a little larger for you to see. That blurring of the video there, that's odd looking. I don't know what that is. That just looks strange. Weird, for lack of a better word. Condemn attack by Iran, in strongest terms, UAE on Iran's attacks on U.S. base in Abu Dhabi.
Attack U.S. base in Abu Dhabi. UAE has released a statement saying it's a blatant attack by Iranian ballistic missiles. Iranian missiles successfully have been intercepted successfully, and these visuals first broken to you on NDTV. These explosions reported not just in the UAE but Kuwait and Bahrain as well. The military operation against Iran has spilled over into a much wider region, and these dramatic pictures coming in from Bahrain, from UAE, and from Kuwait. Iran has attacked U.S. base in Abu Dhabi.
But the weird thing is, okay, the Iranian regime, this is 12 hours ago, continues its attacks on the UAE. 3 dead and 58 injured, according to this. With Ilhan Omar condemned the Islamic Republic for killing Muslims during Ramadan. And I don't know if that's true. people trying to send me things, but I'm getting so many things sent to me about the war that I can't filter it all. So I don't know if the clip that was sent to me is the one that I'm going to use, but here I'm going to go to this to show you. This is what I'm talking about, okay, about this Andrew Tate stuff. And I showed this last night. That's November 19th. That's okay. Here we go. I don't know. This is 8 hours ago posted or reposted. Actually, this is the one. This is the one I was looking for. So this is the one that's setting people off. I think this guy is as fake as they come. Fake in the sense that I think he's a manufactured celebrity, personality online. I don't think that he is what he seems to be. It's a show with this guy, and he's putting on a show here as far as I can tell. So take again this all with a grain of salt, because this is very performative. Here we go.
The videos of Baghdad when a real anybody who remembers.
But I will say this, he's actually saying things here that I said last night when I said this war feels different. I referenced the shock and awe of the Iraq war. He's doing the same thing here, but he's taking it a step further.
Anybody who remembers the Iraq war remembers the videos of Baghdad when a real war begins. That hasn't happened. That hasn't happened in Dubai, hasn't happened in Tehran, and it certainly hasn't happened in Tel Aviv. A real war would see Tehran currently in an entire ball of fire. What do you see coming out of Tehran? A plume of smoke on the outskirts and a bunch of people pointing at it. You call that a fucking war? That's not a war. What this is theatrical. This is the reorganization of internal Iranian divisions. There's a huge divide inside of Iran. A lot of people want the leadership to fall. A lot of people are actually pro-America, pro-West. And this is just a simple global repositioning, because the people in charge have to save face, and the people who are not in charge are trying to gain power. And this is a repositioning on the global stage for Iran to become a country which is no longer a threat to the West, so the West can focus on China. This is a play. This is an act. Why is Tel Aviv not on fire? Why is there the odd plume of smoke here, the odd little drop of fire over there? Same thing with Tehran. Why? Yeah, Dubai has shot down interceptors. Yes, some of them have fallen. Yes, there's a few fires here and there. I'm not saying nobody has died. Of course, less people have died than have died from drug overdoses or crime in the West, so it's still a safer place to be. But if you think this is a real war, and you don't understand that this is bullshit, that is going to be over in 48 hours, so that everyone can stand around and talk about the war that happened, talk about the bombings that happened, decide that we need new policies regarding oil, that we need new policies regarding the Red Sea and the Houthis, and we need to change the shipping lanes, and we need to make sure that the regime falls in this place, and that Benjamin Netanyahu can say how important it is for him to get billions of more dollars from America. If you think this is a real war like what happened in Iraq, you're a dummy. Study the videos of the beginning of the Iraq war in 2003, and look at the videos that are coming out of these countries now. I thought Iran and Israel are at war. I see fucking campfires and the odd plume of smoke. This is bullshit. This is a play. None of this is real. Dubai is still safe. Tel Aviv is still safe. Tehran is still safe. A deal has been done. Everyone has agreed to do certain things so that everybody can save face and everybody is happy with the end result, just like last time. So Iran is striking a whole bunch of empty American military bases with no one on them. A couple of missiles get shot down and those interceptors cause fires inside of Dubai. Yes, it's true. That is happening. A couple of stupid buildings on the outskirts of Tehran and the outskirts of Tel Aviv are going to get set on fire. And in 2 days from now, Emirates Airlines is going to be flying people first class to 5 Palm to party next to a pool just like before. And if you think this is a real war, you don't understand how the world works.
Probably some truth in that. Certainly, what I'm seeing here, I think this is the reason for me that it seems like a different kind of war, is because Trump is taking a different strategic approach to the way he's dealing with this. In the case of Iraq, it was shock and awe. It was, I think, in many respects, you were dealing with a different situation, and a message was being sent as much as anything at that time through the shock and awe campaign. And when I say Trump is sort of turning things upside down, you saw Saddam Hussein fall at the end. But Trump, with Maduro, is decapitating the leadership in the beginning, flying in, using the technology. And I have to say, it's an effective and damage minimizing strategy that it so far seems to be very effective in that, yeah, I think that Andrew Tate might be right, that there's some sort of negotiation that goes on. You've seen the pattern here. Destabilize by fueling or supporting protests in a targeted country to create unrest in the streets, destabilize the government with large protests to get to use the people as your pawns to achieve that end of the operation. And then with these strategic strikes, in the case of Maduro, they went right in and kidnapped the leader of the country in Venezuela. In this case, they decapitated the leadership with a military strike, using the CIA to monitor, to figure out where the Ayatollah was going to be, when he was going to be there, and then killing the Ayatollah in a strike, along with other prominent members of the Iranian leadership. By doing that, you're essentially achieving one of the main objectives, which is regime change right off the top. What you're going to get on the other side remains to be seen, except that they probably have been talking to people behind the scenes, trying to manipulate things to get the outcome they want. Whether that happens in this situation, we just don't know. It isn't over yet, and we are seeing that the Iranian government is resilient, that they do have a succession plan unfolding even as we speak. So they do have a chain of command, and they do have, well, maybe some chaos going on there. It hasn't completely broken down, so they still have a functional government of sorts where they're able to still launch retaliation. And we're seeing, as a result, statements and indications from journalists as well that the Iranian government is prepared to fight some sort of an existential war, which is branching out, tentacles spreading into other countries. Potentially, you see escalating into something larger. And I think that's probably what the hawks on the Iranian side are trying to achieve, is to escalate this thing and create a conflict that spirals out of the control of the United States in some way, so that the U.S. gets unintended consequences as a result of this, and something that persists over time. But Tate is probably right in the sense that, and I think he's right that this is a different kind of a conflict. He's not saying it isn't happening. He's saying that it is not a real war in the sense that we're not having the shock and awe and everything scorched earth, everything leveled, with the U.S. military just sweeping across a country and just devastating, wiping out everything in its path. This is more strategic. It's more targeted. They're going after military assets. They're sinking Iranian naval vessels. They're trying to cripple the military capabilities of Iran. And I think that's probably wise as well, and hopefully minimizing civilian casualties in the process. And even though we've seen reports that, we do have civilian casualties there, the jury is out on how many civilians within Iran have actually been killed. So it is, but it is a different kind of war because, as I say, he's flipped the script and flipped the strategy. He's going after the leadership right off the top, making that it looks like priority number one. So he's going for a checkmate move by taking the king, if you will, right off the bat. Certainly worked in Venezuela. Iran may be a different situation. We'll see. There is weirdness that comes out of all of that, though. And then you've got the terror attacks, or the alleged possible terror attack in Austin. Who knows what Cincinnati will turn out to be, and who knows what will come. And certainly whatever happened in North York, in the Toronto area, that definitely is political and definitely is about something to do with Iran. So that seems to be the strongest indicator that we're going to get some sort of a backlash on domestic soil right here. So these things do have an impact in Canada and the United States. And that, of course, is because we have Iranian Canadians living here in our country who have opposing points of view and what needs, or what they would like to see happen in Iran with the government there, with that activist longing for the days pre-1979 when the Shah was still in power. And I think Donald Trump's wishing that they could go back to pre-1979 too, and we'll see if that happens. But to say that, well, see, Tate, though, too, you have to take everything he says with a grain of salt. He does get conspiratorial at times. Also, he thrives on clicks. He lives on clicks. He benefits and profits from being controversial and being conspiratorial and fueling speculation. So he's motivated that way. And he has ties to UAE as well. And I think he has incentives to portray UAE as being a safe place. In fact, I think there is video. Let me see if I can find you this. I think it's them having dinner or something. Well, a bomb or something is falling in the UAE. See if I can find it for you. Yeah, here it is here. This is Andrew Tate and the War Room are having a private dinner in the Dubai desert while missiles go off in the background. Okay. Let me pull that down, get you this clip here. Here's the video. Is he there? The face is blurred. That's that. What does that video have? That video has 737,000 views just on that single post. And then this one has 44,000 views, a different angle. Why are the faces blurred? I can't tell who those people are. Does anyone know who those people are? Or is that just flipped?
And the biggest indicator to me that this is not a real war is that Iran is heavily targeting the UAE, which is theatrical. Why are they wasting all these missiles and drones on the UAE when they could be hitting shipping? Why aren't they hitting Tel Aviv? Why are they hitting this country that had nothing to do with anything? Because they want theatrics. They want a play. They want a story. And
or they want to drag other countries into it to escalate the whole situation, and they might have other objectives that way. I don't know. I just know that that makes it all weird. But hey, it wouldn't be 2026 if things didn't get freaking weird, right? It doesn't matter what happens anymore. We live in this age of conspiracy, which sometimes turns out to be true. So I share that with you tonight. The Alex Jones, the Andrew Tate, at the tail end of all of this, just to make you scratch your head. We'll try to keep it grounded real here, though, as much as we can in the days ahead. And that being said, I think it's time to kind of wrap things up for this evening, as I think we have got it covered pretty much. We're up to date at 9:06 p.m. on this March 1st, 2026, on the war in Iran. We will be expanding on other top stories of the days ahead. I wanted to get into a Truspiracies episode this weekend, but this conflict in Iran, real or otherwise, kind of got in the way. Real news portrayed as fake. What do you want to close off with tonight? Well, I guess we have to go back to that. Well, you know what? I'm not going to play It's All Fake tonight. I am going to leave you with something different, because we used that one last night. Even though we're talking about fake, I don't know if it's news, but fake stuff, maybe. If I can bring it up. Here we go. Hard drive's got to catch up. Too many things to click on. Thanks to everybody who called in last night. Great conversation. And we will have more for you tomorrow night. We'll leave you now, close off with Trumpzilla, since President Trump is flexing U.S. muscle over in the Middle East tonight. See you tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern, on the flip side.
Rising from the blast, forged in fire. Storming the swamp, taking it higher.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.